Good evening, I'm Richard.
And I'm Lolly Swain.
And you're listening to The Way It Is. Headlines tonight.
Breakdown in talks, teachers down chalks.
Tony Blair's cut features muff.
Tariff push by President Bush.
Experts admit your pension's worth.
Richard Balfe, Labour's longest-serving Euro MP, is defecting to the Conservative Party because of what he called Labour's growing arrogance and dishonesty.
On the line from Strasbourg is a spokesman for Mr. Balfe, Cathy Cumhome. So, Ms. Cumhome, what has prompted Mr. Balfe's switch?
Mr. Balfe feels that the Conservatives are the only relevant party who are open to new ideas, debate and discussion.
Yes, but really?
No, seriously, that's what he thinks.
Oh, come off it, Ms. Cumhome.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I had to give it a shot.
I'd have been disappointed if you hadn't. So why has Balfe joined the Conservatives?
Oh, because they're in chaos and he reckons his chances of promotion will be higher. Anyone with even an iota of sense will be in the shadow cabinet within 2 weeks and running the show in 6.
So it's not a point of principle, it's a career move.
He is a politician.
Thank you, Ms. Cumhome.
Work till you drop. That's the startling analysis of what we'll all have to do as more and more companies abandon final salary pension schemes in favour of unreliable money purchase plans.
Most analysts now predict that we'll all have to work until well into our 70s to avoid a poverty-stricken retirement.
Yes, it looks like money's too tight to pension. As Simply Red might have sung if they changed the last word of their song to pension.
Right, I'm joined in the studio by George Susan, head of the Stakeholder Pension Advisory Forum, or SPAF. Mr. Susan, give me the grim statistics.
Well, according to our calculations, Richard, the average 35-year-old will need to start saving at least £3,000 a week if he wants to retire by the age of about 104.
Are you sure? That sounds impossible.
Oh, it is impossible. Which means that most young people today will be condemned to an old age of want and penury. It'll be like Dickensian times all over again, except it'll be in the future, so I expect there'll be jet boots. And probably monorails as well.
Yeah, so what do you suggest people do?
Well, putting your cash into any of the traditional pension schemes isn't going to do you much good, so we suggest people put their money into one of these.
It's a mattress.
Well, we like to call it a steady yield retirement savings mattress. Your money won't be lost on the stock market and you're guaranteed to get back exactly what you put in. It means that as far as your pension is concerned, you can sleep easily, both literally and, of course, literally again.
Susan?
Mr. Susan.
Retire from the studio, please.
Right, so...
Sport Relief. Not as you might think a well-thumbed photograph of Anna Kournikova, but a joint fundraising venture between Comic Relief and BBC Sport. Sport Relief, do you see?
Coming in the same week as Sven-Goran Eriksson threw his weight behind the FA's testicular cancer awareness campaign, Keep Your Eye on the Ball, this suggests that sport is going charity crazy. One of the prime movers behind Sport Relief is our very own man in the stands, Ben Mosley.
Thanks, Lolly. Well, joining me in this Sport Relief special is former Dutch international, Premiership manager and intersexual man of mystery, it says here, Ronald Flubbers. So, Ronald, what the hell do you think you're doing?
Yeah, for sure, I'm checking my scrotum.
Right. I don't think that Sven meant that you should do it right now, out in the open.
Yeah, but, you know, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Make sure that both the little round fellas are okay, you know?
Yeah, can you stop waving that at me? It's actually, that's quite unnerving.
Oh, come on, chill out, man. It's like you've never seen a man check his ballsack in a radio studio before, you know?
Well, not since Dickie Davis retired, anyway. So... Flubbers, if I can drag you away from gazing in awe at your own manhood for a second, what are you going to do for Sports Relief?
Hold on, look. I can make them look like Jenny Murray.
Actually, that is frightening. Ronald, can you put it away now, please?
Okay.
Thanks. No, I can still see the top of her head.
Oh.
There she goes. That's got it. Right, so sports relief. What are you going to be doing, briefly?
Yeah, well, for sure, I am donating a ticket to Japan for the World Cup finals.
Well, that is remarkably generous.
Yeah, sure. Well, they have to be willing to share my bed and make with the loving, but hey, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I don't like you. You make the sport dirty. Lolly, can you do something, please?
Yeah, I could think of several things you could
Yeah,
do.
Lolly!
Ben Mosley there, talking balls.
Wet-mouthed, lisping, ox-jawed talent show winner Will Young is at number 1 in the charts.
But pop idol Will won't be appearing on Top of the Pops after the BBC said he couldn't sing both songs on his double A-side single.
Riveting news. Can the slack-lipped booby maintain this initial success? Of course not. To discuss Will Young's inevitable descent back into oblivion is pop pundit Paul Fettuccini.
Hi.
Fettuccini, if you will, a quick sketch of Will Young's future career, please.
March 2002, #1 single. April, #1 album. May, disappointing follow-up single. June, second album fails to chart. July, summer season at Great Yarmouth supporting Bonnie Tyler and the Barron Knights. September, presenter on QVC. November, back to obscurity and oblivion. And finally, December in the play Art, alongside Jenny Theakston and the man one from the Crankies.
Chilling stuff. Is there any way he can avoid this slippery slope?
None, Richard. For thus it is written in the book of Jason Donovan, and so it will come to pass.
Amen to that. Are you all right, Lolly? You seem even more distracted than usual.
No, I'm fine.
Really? You're chewing that pen rather ferociously.
Everyone chews pens.
Yes, but that is my pen. And I'm holding it.
Sorry. Is my pregnancy?
Oh dear, not a problem, I hope.
Well, no. And yes. I've discovered that I'm carrying more than one baby.
Twins! Wow, that's great.
No, not twins.
Triplets?
Not quite.
Oh, goodness me, how many babies are you going to have?
5.
Quintuplets. That's a litter.
I'm still in a state of shock.
Yeah, right, you're chewing my finger now, actually.
Sorry. I am a bit tense. I only found out this morning on the scan. 5 little blobby things with barely recognisable faces.
Sounds like Westlife.
I don't know how to feel. I'm full of mixed emotions. Joy and despair, hope and fear, angst, and whatever the opposite of angst is.
I'm sure they'll bring you nothing but happiness, Lottie.
Oh, thank you, Richard.
And after they're born, you'll become a full-time mum and be giving up the way it is that right?
Yes, Richard, it'll be the end of an era.
But also the start of an exciting new one. And if you need any help looking after the quintuplets, you know my phone number, don't you?
Oh, yes, I do, Richard.
Right. Better change that then.
Aging Lolita Britney Spears has admitted in a US television interview that she's never heard of Yoko Ono and Linda McCartney.
Oh, would that we were all so blessed. Everyone needs a place to think, and that place, according to the BBC, is BBC 4. What's wrong with the toilet, I don't know. And again, judging by what squitted out of the launch night last Saturday, the two aren't as far apart as you might imagine. Did you watch it, Lolly?
No, I was watching Blind Date.
Of course you were. Well, don't get me wrong, I like the idea of BBC 4, that it shifts quality programming away from the comprehensively educated. And by comprehensively educated, I mean...
Yes, I know what you mean.
Well, to be honest, the first night's effort was laughable. Goya, a performance of Senegal's Baaba Maal, a piece on the man who destroyed everything.
John Burt.
Doesn't matter, Lolly. All I'm saying is that the launch of BBC 4 was a pathetic damp squib.
Well, it all sounds very clever and highbrow to me, Richard. I can't believe you don't... Oh, hang on. You had an idea in with BBC 4, didn't you, Richard?
That is irrelevant.
Yes, that's how they described your idea, wasn't it? In that letter you got?
Yes, and they were wrong. Being Richard would have been the perfect opener to any new cultural channel.
Oh, was it like that Posh Spice programme?
In no way whatsoever. Anyway, it's their loss. It was actually a perfect example of literainment, as I've just chosen to call it. A visual foray into my favourite works of art and literature. You see, Lolly, I'm a communicator. During this time of unprecedented digital change, I've had the opportunity to choose my platforms of communication with great care. And now I shall take my idea elsewhere.
Where?
E4. I've done a redraft where two lesbians are chained to a sculpture of Michelangelo's David and have just 24 hours to get off with each other. It's hosted by Jamie Theakston.
If you can't beat 'em, eh?
Well, in the second episode you can, actually. I think that's what finished. Time now for a load of old posh from rumour monger to the Queen, Nigel Kempton.
I hear that Hermione, third daughter of Lord and Lady Spitweasel of Kiel, is to have her coming out party this July. A little on the young side to be put on the market, you'd think, being only 6. But having had 2 previous daughters quickly develop into patently unmarriageable monstrosities, Spitweasel was determined not to let it happen a third time. She'll go with her milk teeth or not at all. The dowry is said to be 100 head of badger.
Anything else, Kempton?
Well, news reaches me from Kenya of the sad death of Ginster O'Corrigan. O'Corrigan, who was 97, made his name out of some old signboards he found in a skip, but that's neither here nor there. He was famous as a great white hunter and bushman extraordinaire, and I really can't play on that word bush too heavily. The incorrigible O'Corrigan, as he was known, a reference not to his romantic nature, but to his abundant genital herpes, was believed to have made love to over 1,000 women, many of them conscious at the time. His reputed conquests included Rita Hayworth, Lana Turner, Queen Mary, Errol Flynn, and Clarence, the cross-eyed lion out of that line. A keeper will be fed to the lions at Aspinall Zoo in his memory a week tomorrow. Invitation only, of course.
See you there, and more from Kempton's unedited inbox next week. Europe and the United States are on the brink of... Rather laboured and not strictly accurate, but at least it got your attention. No, this is a trade war.
As President Bush imposes tariffs on a range of imported steel goods, the EU is threatened with a flood of cheap third world imports.
And our own steel industry is reeling at the prospect. John Singer is from the government Steel Advisory Board. Mr. Singer, explain America's position.
Well, that's very easy, Richard.
Oh, is it? Well, try this then. How does the government feel about accepting money from Lakshmi Mittal, who gave $600,000 to the pressure group that urged President Bush to impose these sanctions?
That's a lot harder.
Yes. Bush is just keen to get votes of US steel-producing states in the upcoming midterm elections. But should UK industries be destroyed at the whim of foreign politicians?
Oh, of course not. That's our job.
Thought so.
Pop news, and Britney Spears' boyfriend Justin Timberlake of NSYNC has been talking about going solo.
And given the rumours about his girlfriend, I imagine he's had plenty of practice. Here we come, weaving down the street. We get the funniest looks from every off-licence from which we attempt to purchase intoxicating liquors. Hey, hey, we're the Drunk Monkeys. That's not a real song, of course, but it could be, if scientists get their way.
A controversial research project has been getting monkeys drunk. They claim it could give us valuable insights into genetic bases for alcoholic dependency.
Is it really necessary, I ask myself? Couldn't they just round up the lowlife off Guildford High Street on a Saturday night? Most of them are indistinguishable from monkeys anyway.
Joining me is Peter Rabbit of the Animal Rights Society.
Greetings.
Peter Rabbit? Really?
Yeah, just leave it.
Right. Now, what is your gripe about these experiments exactly?
Well, obviously, we feel that it's dead wrong to be conducting these experiments secretly under the cover of scientific research.
Under the cover of research, what do you think the real purpose is then?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? It's fun.
Fun?
Yeah, it's great fun getting monkeys drunk, watching them stagger about, fall off their tyres, fighting and that. Love it.
So you don't actually object?
Object? I just want to know where they've banned us watching. Oh, you can't come in here. This is science, not entertainment for the rabble. Bloody ponces. Let's see the drunken monkeys.
Mr. Rabbit, thank you.
Show me the monkeys.
Thank you.
Theatre news now, and it has been announced that whoremonger Jamie Theakston is going to be joining the cast of the West End play Art.
We're joined in the studio by the play's director, Trevor Monk.
Hi.
Mr. Monk, who is going to be playing alongside Theakston?
Oh, we have just the right actors for the job. Andy Peters and Otis the Aardvark.
Well, for the love of Jehovah, do you think these three stooges are really suitable for the West End stage?
You don't understand the pressures of finding 3 new actors every other month. Unfortunately, we've now used every available actor in Britain, even the cast of Night and Day. So we've got to move on to other people.
What are you going to do?
Well, after that, we've got government backing to begin conscription. Every man in the country will be selected to move to London to be in art for 2 months as part of their national theatre service.
Isn't that a bit sexist?
Oh, don't worry. Women will be called up at the same time to do their service in the vagina monologues. Actually, Richard, I have your papers here. You're being called up to appear in the vagina monologues with Danny Bear and Christopher Biggins.
Hang on, there's been some kind of mistake.
No, everyone thinks you're a complete...
Yes, thank you. Camelot, the only company to have been given a licence to print money by the government twice, is giving the National Lottery a £72 million relaunch.
Camelot's logo is to be replaced by an image of a figure trying to touch a star.
Which is at least an honest representation of your chances of winning the bloody thing.
Hooray! It's time now for another chance to buy one of our ever-popular news partworks.
Here's this week's waste of paper.
The Way It is proud, or at least not entirely ashamed, to present the Olympic Drug Collection.
Building up week after week into over 1 million parts, this beautiful publication is yours to obsessively collect until you can no longer open the door to your front room.
Issue 1 costs $1.99 and covers the sport of skiing. And on the front cover is a free sachet of methamphetamine.
That's speed.
The drug allegedly taken by British bronze medalist Alan Baxter.
Issue 2 also concentrates on skiing and also comes with a sachet of methamphetamine.
That's speed.
But this issue costs a little bit more.
Issue 3 is £40. It comes with less methamphetamine.
That's speed.
But you don't care now, do you? You want it.
You want it.
Yes.
And you can order that partwork from our usual address.
Or alternatively, just say no. Spin weasel Martin Sixsmith has sold the rights of his 18,000-word dossier to a book publisher. There's even talk of a film. Here's a specu clip.
I see politically dead people all the time.
That's the Sixsmith Sense exclusive. The BBC Parliament. Prince William has reportedly considered dropping out of St Andrews University after just a term and a half.
The student prince has found it hard to adjust to living in a small Scottish town, where he is a constant centre of attention. To give us an insight into what life must be like for William is our veteran royal watcher, Quentin Rumpelteazer. Hello, Quentin.
Hello, Lolly. Yes, you know, it's very sad, Lolly. Just imagine the prince, perhaps wandering alone by the shores of St Andrews Bay, feeling the salty spray from the foaming waves splash onto his cheeks, wishing that he had a shoulder to cry upon, the broad shoulder, perhaps, of an older, wiser man.
Yes. Why do you think William has had trouble fitting in at university?
Well, Lolly, he's different from other boys, you see. He is, of course, the most intelligent royal ever. He has a B in history of art. Before Brainy Will, the only royal qualification was George III's life-saving bronze.
So will stay at St Andrews?
Oh, I do hope so, Lolly. To give up his history of art degree would be criminal. The chance to explore Michelangelo's David, the male nudes of antiquity, the Greeks. Oh, what I wouldn't give to have matriculated with William onto a biscuit.
Oh, dear.
And moving up there, Lolly, to be with him, to hang out at the student bar, drink snake bites with him, perhaps enjoy some freshers' balls.
Quentin?
I want a flavour of his lectures.
Quentin?
I want a taste of his seminar.
Stop right there, Quentin. That's quite enough.
Mommy.
They call him the rudest man in Britain.
I'm abrupt but fair, Lolly.
Not you. They call him the rudest man in Britain, and he now earns £75,000 an hour.
No, that isn't me. You're right.
Dr. David Starkey, academic, TV historian, and moral maze man, has just landed a £2 million contract with Channel 4, giving him the highest hourly rate on TV.
Well, 3 cheers for that. An intelligent, articulate man earning more than some rancid oik presenting Ibiza reps on the job. Something's right with the world after all.
Dr. Starkey is on the line now. Hello, Dr. Starkey. Oh, he's hung up. How rude.
Eccentrically brusque, I'd say.
Well, as the second rudest man in Britain, how are your high-powered contract negotiations coming, Richard?
Well, we've reached an impasse, but my agent, Maurice the Wolverine Thompson, assures me that the BBC are close to acceding to my demands. It's a standoff, but the Wolverine will win.
Are you sure, Richard? You don't want to push too much. They might just cancel the programme or get dishy Nicky Campbell in to replace you. Actually, push a bit more.
The Wolverine knows what he's doing. He's tough, he's ruthless, he fears no man, and he stops at nothing. He got Libby Purvis a swivel chair and some extra post-its on midweek. I trust him like my brother.
The one who's in prison?
No, the other one. The BBC's latest attempt to forcefully inseminate the history documentary with the unholy seed of the docu-soap airs next week.
The Trench puts modern-day volunteers into a replica of a First World War trench, hence the name, to see how they get on.
It's said by the witless fools who made it to be the most realistic recreation of the day-to-day experience of a World War I soldier ever attempted. With me is witless fool Cameron Diath.
You don't know what it's like. Sacrifice, the horror.
In the trenches.
No, in the factual programming department. Seeing brave, eager documentary ideas needlessly cut down from 50 minutes to half an hour. The senseless commissioning decisions.
Yes, it sounds awful.
Oh, I have seen things that you would not believe. Mainly programs by Tony Robinson.
And I can't take it anymore, do you hear me? I'm finished! How many more young documentary makers have to work with Fred Dibner before we learn? This is it! I'm going over the top, you hear me? I'm going over the top!
You're telling me.
The Mirror newspaper held its Pride of Britain Awards on Tuesday.
Which was a coincidence because it was on that very same day that we held our Way It Is Shame of Britain Awards. And here's the winners list.
Joe Moore?
And if you'd like a full list of winners, write the name Joe Moore on a piece of paper.
Euro MP Richard Balfe's crossing of the floor, albeit with the imprint of Tony Blair's Paul Smith loafer clearly visible on his chalk-striped twin vent, has surprised those who thought the Tory party a ship that even the foolhardiest of rats would need an aqualung to join.
But what is the modern Tory party really like? What is it for? What does it do?
Our correspondent James Gravelax has been living in Party HQ at Smith Square for the past 3 years. He joins me now. James, what kind of a party is this?
Well, I've known some bad parties in my time, Richard, but I can honestly say that this is one of the most boring parties I've ever been to. The beer ran out ages ago. I can't remember the last time anyone came round with vol au vents. I mean, true, there are a few crisps lying in a crinkly paper bowl, but such is the pallor and undernourished constitution of these crisps that they might more accurately be described as limps.
Yes, James, you paint a vivid picture of a party in its last gasp. What are the characters involved?
Well, what indeed, Richard? There was one admirably fat man in admirably comfortable shoes who was good company for a while, chatting about jazz and continental pornography, but he left early, though I do keep finding his cigar stubs floating like petulant turds in half-drunk cans of lager. Then there was an amusingly flamboyant gentleman who took great offence when I innocently mistook him for a waiter, whereupon he minced out, swearing at me in what I think was Spanish, though that may just have been a lisp. And last but not least, the chap everyone referred to as Widdicombe. Widdicombe at least made an effort and came in costume. I'm not sure what he was meant to be. He looked
wardrobe in a skirt with the head of Richard III, as played by Olivier in that marvellous film. I forget what it's called. Anyway, since he left, there have been no characters to speak of at all. There was one amusing incident when what I took to be a bald man polishing a mirror turned out to be, in fact, two bald men shaking hands. Then one of them left, leaving, oddly, no one. Except me, that is, and my fruitless search for some drink with a little bit of fizz left in it. I tell you, Richard, the next party I attend will be one thrown by people with a bit of clout.
Yes, James, you realise the party you're referring to was once the Conservative Party, the greatest election-winning machine the country's ever seen, the natural party of power.
The Conservative Party?
Yes.
Well, the actual Conservative Party here in Smith Square?
Oh, yes.
Oh, Christ. Right, well, let's see. Scenes of terrible devastation here, Richard. Sick transit Gloria Mundi. In fact, there's sick everywhere. I'm sitting in some now, actually. It's really bad.
Thank you, James. As I glance at the clock, it looks like the old enemy has beaten us again.
Germany?
No, Lolly. Time.
So let's have a quick look at your letters and emails.
Gillian Oxpleasure writes, I am an arch monarchist, and in this Golden Jubilee year I have been searching everywhere for some kind of small portrait of Her Majesty the Queen, but with no success. P.S. Please excuse lack of stamp.
The pension schemes crisis brings this response from 72-year-old Albert Potter. He says, I'm already retired and have got a lovely big pension, thank you very much. Ha ha ha. You youngsters are all going to be screwed. That'll teach you to piss in my front garden.
On the subject of US tariffs on steel imports, Len Roof of Catford says, I think we should fight fire with fire and attack American exports. We could stab that bird out of Ally McBeal for a start.
A listener from Norfolk writes, I often get my surname and the way I sign off my letters mixed up. Yours, Davidson, Peter sincerely.
And finally, Elliot Mimsy has written in with the answer to our caption competition. He says, a caption is an explanatory comment or designation accompanying a pictorial illustration. Congratulations, Mr. Mimsy. That's close enough. I'm Richard.
And I'm Lolly Swain.
And that was The Way It Is.